It seems like I can write a song about my feelings more easily than I can talk about them. I play better than everybody else. People called him the Buddha of country music, the man who never harbored a grudge, but that was a lie. Willie Nelson is no longer preaching peace at the age of 92. He is naming names. 7 artists that let him down, made fun of his faith, or turned friendship into war. Some were famous, some were siblings, and one was the last person you would think he despised. First, G. Brooks, the showman, was someone Willie never trusted. The man everyone else names a hero, G. Brooks, is at the very top of Willie Nelson's hatred list. Old Nashville insiders still shake their heads at the irony. Brooks made a lot of money in country music, but Willie says he also ruined its spirit. In the 1990s, when Willie was still taking Trigger to dusty county fairs, Brooks was flying across arenas on wires with fireworks all around him. It was wonderful for the crowd. Willie thought it was a funeral for being real. "You can't sell struggle if you've never lived it," he told one of his bandmates after watching Gar perform. It was like a Broadway production for people in bad places. In 2004, the tension boiled over at the Country Music Hall of Fame. G stood on stage with a smile and called Willie the conscience of country music. It appeared like a romantic moment on camera, but behind the scenes, Willie stared him down and urged in a low voice, "Next time, sing it like you mean it." That sentence swept around the business like wildfire. Willie has turned down every duet, every chance to be on stage with G, and every picture op since that night. He couldn't bear what G had done to the genre. Perfect plastic. Second, Shania Twain, the queen who made Willie lose trust in Nation. Willie Nelson never liked glitter, but Shania Twain got him upset. He once stated that her shows looked more like Vegas than Nashville, and he wasn't joking. For a man who spent his whole life looking for truth in every verse, witnessing Shania convert country music into dance moves seemed like watching a friend sell their soul for sequins. Their problems started in the late 1990s when Shania's crossover successes like "Man, I Feel Like a Woman" and "That Don't Impress Me" were all over the radio. Nashville was quite happy. Willie wasn't. He informed a sound engineer on tour, "Country is supposed to bleed, not shine." The news spread quickly, and soon everyone knew that Willie hated the pop country wave she was leading. It all came to a head during the CMA Awards. Shania won Entertainer of the Year, while Willie sat a few rows back with a blank face. He graciously clapped for the cameras, but when he got backstage, he told a companion, "Entertainer, maybe, but that ain't country." A few minutes later, Shania tried to say hello to him. Everything, from the smile to the handshake. Willie nodded once and passed by her as if she weren't there. People in the business labeled it being cocky. Willie called it being honest. He thought she had swapped pain for dance moves and true stories for radio scripts. He thought Shania was proof that the business had lost its way. Willie still shifts the conversation if you bring up her name. Shania Twain is the only person he never fully allowed back in, even though he has forgiven practically everyone else. Third, Waylon Jennings, the brother who turned his back. Waylon Jennings was the one on Willie Nelson's list that hurt the most. This wasn't a fight between businesses. This was family getting cold. Together, they established the movement of outlaws. But jealousy was waiting behind the camaraderie. It all began with stardom. By the end of the 1970s, Waylon was sick of seeing Willie and Waylon in every headline. He began to arrive late to sessions, drink more, and fight over credits. People who knew them remarked that Waylon would roll his eyes every time someone called Willie the face of outlaw country. Waylon lost it one night in the studio and yelled, "You're too stoned to play straight." Willie merely grinned and didn't say anything, but he never forgot. Their friendship fell apart for real after they both went to an interview in the early 1980s. Waylon, half-jokingly, labeled Willie a hippie in cowboy boots who didn't know where he came from. The reporters thought it was funny, but Willie didn't. After the interview, he discreetly left and didn't contact again. They never fixed it. Willie didn't go to Waylon's funeral in 2002. He sent flowers and a letter that said, "See you on the road somewhere." People who knew him claimed it was his way of saying farewell and also admitting that the sorrow never completely went away. 4. Toby Keith, the patriot who went too far. Willie Nelson didn't just not like Toby Keith. He hated what Toby did to country music. The fight had nothing to do with music. It was about politics and pride. Willie reportedly observed, "A guitar should never wave a flag." That was his method of getting back at Toby without saying his name. Everyone in Nashville knew who he was talking about. Their problems began in the early 2000s, immediately after Toby released Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue. Willie thought the song was propaganda, but it became an anthem. Willie had promised to play at a veteran benefit performance in Austin to bring people together, not to divide them. Toby came on stage after him, waving the flag, yelling slogans, and making the concert a campaign rally. Willie observed from behind the scenes and was disgusted. Willie stopped Toby in his tracks and stated, "You're using music to fight, not to heal." Toby laughed and left. That was the point of no return. Willie backed out of every future show that Toby Keith was in. He wouldn't even go to the same benefit events. He labeled Toby's act a commercial shrouded in camouflage behind the scenes. Years later, Toby sought to get in touch with a common acquaintance and sent a note explaining he didn't mean any damage. "Willie never got back to me," he said to his staff. "I've met men who were louder, but not many who were emptier." Willie's world had a law that no one could talk about. Willie Nelson was out if Toby Keith was on the billboard. Number 5 is Merle Haggard, the friend who went too far. It wasn't just another musician talking trash when Merle Haggard made fun of Willie Nelson. It was a brother who drew blood. These two guys took the same buses, penned songs at the same motel, and made outlaw country music together. But Merle overlooked that Willie's memory was like steel between the trips and the years. It began little. During interviews, Merle started making fun of Willie by saying that his weed advocacy had transformed him into a mascot instead of a musician. Willie didn't pay attention at first, but then Merle stated it again, this time on stage, with Willie just a few feet away. Merle said into the mic, "Weeds are a lazy man's crutch," and the crowd chuckled. Willie didn't. He ended the set by strumming his guitar and then walked directly to the bus. Things were never the same after that night. There was a lot of tension behind the scenes. The timetable no longer included a joint record they had been planning. Merle's calls to Willie's management were not answered. People continued questioning when the two legends will get back together. They never did. Willie told Merle years later, "Some things you don't joke about," when Merle tried to make peace. There was no more anger. It was a letdown. Willie dubbed Merle one of the greats when he died in 2016, but his buddies noticed. He didn't say, "One of my best friends." That quiet said volumes. There was a line that could never be crossed back that ended their brotherhood. Kris Kristofferson is number 6. Willie never forgave the remarks. Can a single sentence truly terminate a four-decade friendship? It did for Willie Nelson and Kris Kristofferson. These two were brothers and worked together to get through all of their problems. But one clumsy sentence was all it took to break 40 years of loyalty. It happened at a private fundraiser in the middle of the 2000s. There were a lot of songwriters in the room, a few reporters in the back, and whiskey on every table. Willie had just finished a modest political ballad concerning war and farm workers. Kris, who was half drunk as he got off stage, leaned over to the people around him and stated, "Willie's turned into more of a mascot than a musician." There was laughter, but not from Willie. He heard it. His friends said he stood still for a moment before going outside without saying anything. The next morning, his assistant called off their next duet. No one answered the phone after that day. Willie only responded, "Sometimes words don't fade," when people questioned about it afterward. They leave stains. That was all he would ever say in public. Kris tried to say sorry once through a buddy they both knew, but Willie wouldn't talk. He said in a low voice, "You can't call me brother after that." Overnight, years of friendship were lost. Number 7 is Kid Rock, the crazy guy who went too far. Everyone felt it would be a crazy but safe experiment when Willie Nelson agreed to record with Kid Rock. What no one imagined was that it would end in one of the darkest studio fallouts of Willie's career. Willie went in looking for music. Kid Rock showed up looking for a party. They met in Nashville around 2008 when Kid Rock was going through his Southern Outlaw period. He told Willie about an idea for a revolutionary song that would be loud, nasty, and cross genres. Willie, who was always willing to take risks, said yes. Willie realized he had made a mistake as soon as Kid Rock stepped in late with a beer in hand and played his own music over the speakers. People who were there that night said Kid didn't listen to any of the advice and yelled, "Let it be raw," while drowning out Willie's singing with distortion. Willie tried to settle things down, suggesting a gentler arrangement. Kid laughed and said, "Come on, old man, take it easy." That was all. Willie got up, pulled off his headphones, and left the room without saying a word. That was the end of the session. The song was never made public. Later, when a reporter asked Willie what occurred, he only answered, "Some fires are better left unlit." But his calm answer hid true anger. Willie has turned down every offer to work with him again since that day. He thought Kid Rock was just another loud voice that didn't have anything real to express. What do you think? Did Willie Nelson do the right thing by cutting them off? Or should such wounds have healed with time? Let us know in the comments. If any of these names shocked you, hit the like button.